Now, the war on ground is intensifying, so are the verbal attacks between the West and Russia. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has said that continued arms supply to Kiev risks a global nuclear catastrophe. Medvedev's comments once again brings focus back to the threat of nukes being used in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. The former president's rhetoric has also been seen as an attempt to deter NATO and the West from getting more involved in the war. In his remarks published in a Russian daily, Medvedev said that pumping of weapons can also prevent any possibility of reviving negotiations. The comments come a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow suspended the New START treaty not only because of the United States' nuclear capabilities, but that all of the bloc members. During an interview with Russian state TV, Putin said that the goal of leading NATO countries is to inflict a strategic defeat on us so that our people suffer.
С тем, чтобы наш народ страдал, как они говорят. Ну как же мы в этих условиях можем не учитывать их ядерные потенциалы? Тем более, что они поставляют на Украину оружие стоимостью в десятки миллиардов долларов. И ведь это и есть участие в известном смысле. Почему? Потому что это не просто обычное военно-техническое сотрудничество. Они же деньги-то за это не получают.
While on one hand, Moscow is calling on the West to back off, the United States has said that China might send lethal aid to Russia in the future. The claims were first made in a U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee report. It said that China is considering sending drones, among other military aid to Russia. The United States has now urged China to not help out Russia in its war against Ukraine. Speaking to an American broadcaster, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan warned that China will have to bear the real cost if it provided military support to Ukraine, adding that Washington has advised China not to make the same mistake behind closed doors.
We have at this point not seen them take the step of providing weapons to Russia for purposes of the war in Ukraine. We are watching closely. We know they haven't taken it off the table, and we are sending a clear message, as are our European allies, that this would be a real mistake because those weapons would be used to bombard cities and kill civilians, and China should want no part of that.
It's not just the United States. Germany has also warned allies that China should not be judged by its words but by its actions. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius raised skepticism on China's peace plan for Ukraine. Speaking to the public broadcaster, he said that he does not know which account is true, the one where China may be planning to supply kamikaze drones to Russia or the one where it is presenting a peace plan. While the West is not blindly trusting China's stance, Ukraine seems to be open to holding peace proposal talks, but also voiced a doubt when asked about Beijing's possible weapons supply to Moscow.
Перш за все, я планую зустрітися з Сі Цзіньпіном. І вважаю, що це буде на користь нашим державам і безпеці у світі. У нас з Китаєм великий товарообіг. Питання не тільки в війні, питання в тому, що ми держави, які зацікавлені в тому, щоб зберегти економічні відносини.
Now, for more on this, we have with us our correspondent Anas Malik reporting from Kiev. Anas, thank you for joining us. What is the situation on ground right now? Also, as I mentioned earlier, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has said that continued arms supply to Kiev risks a global nuclear catastrophe. What can you tell us?
Well, what we know that we've been here on the ground for over a week now and reporting from Ukraine. I was here last year as well. It seems like the people of Ukraine have internalized the conflict and they are now at terms or have come to terms with the reality that is the war. They have to live with it. A short while back we heard air raid sirens go, but nobody moved an inch or went towards those shelters. This despite the warning last night from the Ukrainian defense side, air defense, that Shahid drones or alleged Shahid drones were spotted between 11 p.m. last night until early this morning. Despite that, people don't seem to move an inch. So that gives a semblance that it's what people believe, that the war is a reality. they've come to terms with it and they've internalized the conflict. With that being said, the second part of your question, we haven't heard as yet any formal responses from Kyiv on that comment by the former Russian president. But having said that, what we heard was yesterday from the intelligence directorate was the fact that they were preparing, the Ukrainian side was preparing for a counter-offensive, or a spring counter-offensive rather, and that they are stocking up for that. This is an apprehension that has been shown, or that has been casted upon by the former Russian president. That's certainly his view. But of course, people in Kyiv would be very different,
right,
and they would want to resonate what President Biden had said in Poland, that this war will end as soon as the Russian side stops invading the Ukrainian land. Him?
Right, absolutely, Anas. The United States has also said that China might send lethal aid to Russia in the future. Of course, there is that threat as well. What can you tell us?
That remains a persistent threat, but let's not forget that President Zelensky, just this past Friday, about 4 days back, addressing a press conference here where I am in Kyiv, said that he looks forward to meeting President Xi. There seems to be some sort of a back and forth when it comes to engagement with China. So Kyiv would be of the opinion, or Ukraine would be of the opinion, that China would not be doing any such thing, though that it would be having lesser hopes, but then again they would be keeping their hopes high. We would be expecting some sort of a response on that claim, on that intelligence inputs that have been trickling in. But for now, what we know, that President Zelensky has said that he hopes that China would not be doing this. That is number one. And the second being that he looks forward to meeting President Xi soon and discuss or deliberate on the Chinese peace plan. Him?
All right, Anas, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.